everybody. I'm here with Johnna. I'm Liz from the Chillicothe and Ross County Public Library, and Johnna is here with us today. We are starting our new virtual cooking class series. So today's class is breakfast recipes, a couple of breakfast recipes that we have for adults. We're going to alternate every week, adults and kids, and we're going to go through the next several weeks, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert.
Dessert, that's right.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to hand it off to Johnna here. Okay. I know she would like to see our banner, so I'll do that.
Yeah, this is just if you want to make a notation there are a couple of hashtags there for the Celebrate Your Plate is Snap Ed Works, and then the Choose My Plate is Celebrate Your Plate. These are two nice sites to go to get additional information as far as nutrition and a lot of really good, easy to prepare recipes. So make sure you take note of that.
And then I'm going to put some of those in the comments as well.
Yes, please. Thank you for that. Okay, everybody, as Liz said, my name is Johnna, and I work for Ohio State University through the Ross County Extension Office here in Chillicothe. And I will be with you for the next few weeks, as Liz said, alternating. This week we're starting with adults, next week will be kids, and we're going to go through the whole day as far as a day's worth of meals, going over some recipes, some facts about what those meals and what we should try to get into our diets, that kind of thing. So bear with me. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn some new things, and we're going to taste, well, I'm going to make some food to show you how to taste some really yummy things, okay? So today we're going to start off, of course, with breakfast. And breakfast is, and we've all heard this before, the most important meal of the day. Now, there's a lot of things here lately where fasting is the new diet that everybody is following. So sometimes there is a lot of call from a lot of people to skip breakfast, and that's a personal choice. But if you stop and think about it, breakfast is break fast. Okay, so what the whole meaning is of that is you are breaking your fast, which comes down to when we eat dinner every evening. Most people eat dinner somewhere between 5 and 7 o'clock. So, late afternoon to early evening, which means you're normally eating your last food for the day between 7 and 8. So 8 o'clock is usually a good cutoff time to figure, okay, we're done eating for the day. There might be a small snack in there before bedtime, but most of us cut off at 8 o'clock. So if you stop and you do the math, if you stop and think, okay, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we get up at 7 o'clock, that is 11 hours. Usually takes about an hour to get dressed and ready for the day. So 8 o'clock is when you're going to eat your breakfast normally. And so there is a 12-hour fast. So, if you're doing a fasting, I know a lot of them, these diets recommend 10 to 14 hours. 12 is right dead in the middle. So that's a pretty good indication that you really don't have to work too hard at fasting. You can just do, your dinner, cut off at 8 o'clock, and you're good for the day. So breakfast is a good way to start your day because it's going to, number one, it's going to start your metabolism. It's going to give you some nutrients in your diet that you're going to need for brain function, for digestive function. Just get your body started for the day. And it has been proven, I know you all have heard the facts, that, a child that eats breakfast in the morning is going to perform better at school because it does give them the energy they need to perform. Same with adults. We're going to get through our days just as well. So I'm going to start off with a couple recipes, and Liz says put these in the, I'm going to put them in the chat box so you'll have these to print off. First one we're going to talk about is some oatmeal packets. And basically what this is just an instant oatmeal. So I want to grab these real quick, just so we can do a quick comparison. This recipe for what we're going to use is going to use quick oats, and we're going to do a cinnamon raisin option today, which is going to have 2 teaspoons of brown sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 2 tablespoons of raisins. So 2 teaspoons of brown sugar is going to be about 8 grams of sugar. And when we look at this box here of this instant pre-made, for sugars on the apple cinnamon, it is 13 grams. For the maple brown sugar is 14 grams, and for the cinnamon spice is 15 grams. So you're getting double the amount of sugar in the pre-made stuff that you're going to get in what we're going to do here as far as making them up ourselves. And the nice thing about making them ourselves is we can change our flavors, we can add in what we want, we can take out what we want, and we're controlling exactly what we're getting in our diet. So let me move it around here a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Now, if you were went to the library and picked up the packet, Liz and the library staff was really nice to provide this for us, and they gave us the ingredients for everything we need to make up the cinnamon raisin option today. So we've got some instant oats. We've got our pre-measured cinnamon and sugar.
And actually, that is not pre-measured. Those are pre-mixed, but it is not pre-measured.
Okay,
so if you just measure out each of the two measurements, you'll have your total.
Okay, great. I got.
And there should be enough. There should be enough of both of those ingredients to do 2 packets.
2 packets. Okay, great. So, and then we've got a little package of craisins, which are orange flavored, which sounds really yummy to me. And then there's also a box of shelf-stable milk. And don't be deceived, this says Hershey's, but it is actually white milk. So be careful. Don't think you're going to be getting chocolate milk out of this. Okay, guys? All right, let me get rid of this bag. So we're going to start off by measuring.
And make sure you shake that milk up before you use it.
Anything
we know from past experience.
Yeah, the sediment is always going to fall to the bottom. We're not actually going to use this today. I'm just going to mix up the packet, but you've got that there for when you use your mix. So we're going to start off with a 1/2 cup of instant oatmeal. And you want to make sure when you're measuring that you get your oats to the top there. You want a nice level cup. Put that in our bowl. And then for the cinnamon raisin option, we're going to use 2 teaspoons of brown sugar and a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. So I'm going to use just a little tick over 2 teaspoons. And again, make sure you got level spoonfuls there. And that one's a little rounded, so that's what you call a heaping. So it's going to be just a little bit more. Okay, and that cinnamon smells so good. And then it calls for 2 tablespoons of raisins. Well, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to use our craisins, okay? Or dried cranberries, whatever you want to call them. Oh, this package is a little tougher than I am, evidently. And for 2 tablespoons, that's probably just about what's in this packet. So there's 1, 2, not a little bit more. So you got a little bit for snacks there. And then I'm going to grab a spoon over here. And then I'm just going to mix this together. And voila, this looks just the same as what comes out of those packets that we buy in the store. Now, the really good part about this is you can buy a can of instant oats, which is going to be anywhere from 12 to 14 servings for like $1.79. I probably paid over $2 for this for 10 packs of oatmeal. So, you know, you're getting more bang for your buck that way as well. And then to bag these up for the week, you're going to use a 1/2 cup. So I have those snack size containers here. So I'm going to dip in here. And just a little bit more. Zip this shut. And then you can throw these in a bowl on your counter at home. And all you need to do is take a cup of milk, mix it together, and throw it into the microwave. This is going to make 2 servings, so I'm just going to dump this right straight in. Just stick it in the microwave for probably about 1.5 minutes, stirring halfway through to make sure that you've got everything stirred up really well. And you've got your servings there. And the really good thing about this, like I said, this was just for the cinnamon raisin. But you can do things and mix this up. And as on the recipe, you'll see they have for apple cinnamon. So I've got some dried apples here that I would cut up into that and just use my cinnamon. I've got raisins. If you wanted to do a raisin version, you can do a cinnamon spice where you're just using cinnamon and nutmeg. Or if you want to use some, you can put anything in there. You can, if you have some nuts on hand, you can put some walnuts in there. You could do like a apple walnut if you wanted to do that. Anything that you like in your oatmeal, you can put it in the mix. And then if you want to truly make this an instant version, say you're going to take these to the office or someplace where you're not going to have a refrigerator, you could actually put 3 tablespoons of dried instant milk in with this as well. That way you would only have to have water to mix in because you would have your milk already in there. So just by putting the 3 tablespoons of dried milk in there and about 3/4 cup of water, you're going to have a true instant meal there, okay? So that's the instant oatmeal. You can also, if it's easier too, especially if you're making these up for kids, you can buy these little containers such as these, put it in there, and then all you have to do, make sure that it's microwave safe. And as you can see on the bottom of this, it is microwave safe. But you can put these, stack them on the counter. You can grab them in the morning, take the lid off, dump your milk, your water in, put the lid over top of it, stick it in the microwave, heat it up, and you've got everything right there all in one container. So you don't even have to go looking for a bowl. So easy peasy, right?
And I've made those just adding boiling water
Yes,
to
yes.
instead of microwaving.
Yeah, and
then
if you use instant oats, they'll work really well. Now you can use regular rolled oats on it, but it'll just take longer for them to cook. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so going to move on to our next recipe, which is oatmeal pancakes. Picking on oatmeal today because oatmeal is a really, really well-rounded grain. It's got the best attributes to it is it's gluten-free. So if you have someone in your life that is gluten intolerant, oats are not going to affect their gluten. They're high in protein and fiber. They do decrease cholesterol and lower your risk of heart disease. So it's a really good grain to get. And it's very versatile. You can use oatmeal for, just as we made here, to make a cereal. You can use it in baking. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I have because I like to use different types of flours when I cook. Now, that can get kind of costly. So what I'm going to show you here is how I make my own oat flour. So I usually keep just regular rolled oats on hand. I like the whole oats. I like the crunchiness of them. So I'm going to take my little blender here and I'm going to measure out about a cup of rolled oats. And you can see the difference between the rolled oats and the, what do I do with those? The instant oats. You can see the size is different. The rolled oats, you're going to get the big flakes, and the instant oats have been cut up into a smaller, finer, so they cook quicker. So this is a half cup measure. So I'm going to put a cup of oats in this jar. And then I'm going to put my blender back together. Hopefully this is not too loud. If it is, Liz will mute me so I don't blow your ears out.
Yeah, I went ahead and muted Johnna.
Yes.
There she's back again.
Okay, so there you go, folks. You have oat flour. Now, I don't make this up ahead of time. I always make what I need for the recipe I'm doing because it does have a pretty high moisture content. So it's a little hard to keep it on your shelf, but you can keep those oats forever and just make up the oat flour as you need it. So for our recipe for our oatmeal pancakes, I am a big proponent of always make sure you look through your recipe before you start cooking because it's real easy to skip a step if you don't. So we're going to use oat flour. We're going to use the rolled oats. We're going to use some baking powder, some cinnamon, some honey. It says for maple syrup, honey, or agave. I've got honey on hand. And then milk of your choice, which I like almond milk in my household. And then some oil, just some regular vegetable oil, and then some vanilla, okay? And then the options, you can also throw into these if you want to make it a special treat. You can throw like a handful of chocolate chips or some blueberries or raisins. Again, anything you want. If you like nuts in or any kind of fruit you want to put in there, some chopped apples would be good in here as well. You can make these any flavor you want. So let me get my bowl here. And we're going to start by mixing up our dry ingredients. So it would be 3/4 plus 1 tablespoon of our oat flour. I lost my measuring cup. Moved everything around, didn't I? Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, so as you can see, that is just like regular flour here. Okay, so there's 3/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of oat flour. And then 6 tablespoons of just the oats themselves, because it's going to make them a little chunkier, give them a little more bite. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so there's the oats in there. And then we're going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You can leave this out if you want to, if you don't want the salt in your diet. So it's real easy to leave salt out. My motto is always, you can always leave it out and put it in later if you need it, but you can't take it out once you put it in. So if you don't want the salt in there, you're not sure if you're going to like the flavor, don't put it in. And then 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Oops, let me turn my griddle on over here. So 1. Oh, I used the 1/2 teaspoon. We're going to do 4 of them. 3, 4. Okay. So there is our baking powder, and then 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And you see, I'm always making sure they're nice level teaspoons, so you're not over measuring there. And we're going to take our whisk and we're going to mix that together. So there's our dry ingredients there. You can see. Sorry about that. So we got everything mixed together. Set that to the side for a second. And then we're going to mix our liquid ingredients, which is going to be 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of milk of choice. If you're using a regular milk, you'll try to use a low fat. So there's 1 cup and then 2 tablespoons. One. Oop, did you hear that? Okay. And then we're also going to use 2 tablespoons of oil. I have vegetable oil on hand. You can use canola oil. You can use corn oil. I really wouldn't recommend olive oil because it can have a flavor that might overpower your pancakes just a little bit. Oh, that was almost fun. I've been fishing that out of there, wouldn't I? Now, I always try to measure my oils before I do honey, because honey will stick to the spoon. And if you coat it with the oil ahead of time, it will keep it from getting quite so stuck on there. So we're going to do 3 tablespoons of honey. As you can see, with the oil on there, it slides right out. It doesn't stick quite nearly as bad. If you don't have oil to measure, you can always use a cooking spray and spray your spoon, and it'll come out a little quicker. And this is local honey. You should always try to use local honey. That way you're getting the pollens in there that you need to help with allergies if anybody in your family suffers from allergies. Just a little side note. And then last but not least, we're going to do 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. So I'm going to make a mess here. This is my extract that came directly from Mexico. And it is pretty strong, so I usually cut it back just a little bit. So I only use like 1.5 teaspoons instead of the whole 2. Okay, so there's that. Now, got everything in there? I think we do. So I'm going to mix this together. And you want to make sure you get that honey mixed up in there really well, okay?
Now, I was surprised at this recipe. Most pancake recipes have egg, and this one did not.
This one does
That
not.
was surprising.
You don't really miss it. I mean, they are a heavy pancake because of all the oats in there. So I don't know if that's, has something to do with it, but no, it doesn't really need the egg. So I'm going to slowly add in my dry ingredients there, make my batter. Okay.
Now, when I tried this recipe out, I made it up a little differently. Instead of making the oat flour at the beginning, I just stick the whole batter in the blender.
Yes, and you can do that.
Except for those rolled oats to give it the chunkiness. So I put in the amount for the oat flour and all the wet ingredients and the rest of the dry ingredients.
And as you can see, this is kind of thin, so it's always a good idea to have some extra flour on hand. That way you can put it in if you need, because sometimes it doesn't quite get as thick as what you need. So I'm going to add a little bit more flour in there. Okay. And the oat flour will tend to not be as thickening as what a wheat flour, a white all-purpose or a whole wheat flour would be. So you do normally have to add some more. I should have pointed that out earlier too. Okay. So let me move you guys over. I'm going to move the camera over so you can see the stove here. And I've got my griddle sitting here getting hot. And the best way to test your griddle to make sure it's hot is to take, I've got a bowl here with a little bit of water in it. Just sprinkle it on there. Okay, if you guys can hear that and see them dancing, if that water dances, you know your griddle is hot, okay? Now I'm also going to use just a little spritz of some cooking spray because I know for a fact that this is going to stick just a little bit on this griddle. So that is how I keep that from happening. Now a good way to make sure that you've got a nice uniform sized pancake is to use a measuring cup when you put your batter on. That way you don't wind up with, the great big huge ones and then a couple little ones. So it's always a good idea to use a measuring cup so you know exactly what you're doing there, okay? Now I got a feeling, folks, these are going to be a little runny because I didn't get this batter very thick. Okay. And you just watch the edges of, I'm using about a half, this is a half cup, I'm using about a quarter cup of batter per pancake. And you just watch for when your edges start getting dry looking. And once that happens, you'll be able to lift them up and turn them over. Hopefully y'all can see. They're getting a little bubbly on top, just like a regular pancake. And like I said, these are a heavier, thicker, or denser pancake than it's not going to be as light, fluffy like your buttermilk pancakes because it's made out of oat flour and it's got the whole oats in there as well. But as I said, that is a good way to get, breakfast is the best meal to get your whole grains in. We should always have at least 5 to 6 servings of grain a day. And of those 5 or 6, we should try to make at least 2 to 3, 2.5 to 3. They're not setting up very well. As whole grains, which means it's not a processed grain. Oh, guys, I got a feeling we might have a problem here. Nothing like having a fail when you're online, right? Okay. Now, this has never happened before. Why are these not setting up? There we go. There they're going. I think I was just rushing them a little bit. And Liz, you said you made these as well. Did you use the whole oat flour or did you use some whole wheat and all-purpose flour in them?
I just used the oats.
Okay. So you didn't have any trouble with the batter not setting right?
No, but I may have used a little more cooking spray than you used.
Yeah, I think that might have been my biggest problem. That one there's a dud. We'll put that one over the side. Now, I've made these before and never had this problem, so. But these are really good. You can use just honey or maple syrup on them. They are really good with some chopped up fresh fruit on top of them. Some strawberries sliced up are really good on top of these. You can put some blueberries, make your own syrup by heating them up on top of the stove. And there we go, guys. Yeah, I think I definitely need to put, next batch needs to have a little more cooking spray on there. Don't do what the cook does, folks. Just do what she says, okay? So, in conclusion, then, their oats is a really good way to get what you need as far as grains in your diet. And there are several different types of oats on the market. There are whole oats. There are steel cut oats, which is actually the whole oat. It's like the kernel off of the wheat plant or the oat plant without it being processed. This old-fashioned oat is something when they heat them and then they roll them and mash them, so you get those nice flat flakes. And then the instant oats, where they are even rolled even thinner and then chopped up so they'll cook quicker. You're going to get the same amount of nutrients out of your oats, no matter how they're processed. There's going to be a little difference in the flavor because the steel cut and the groats is what they call them. It's like oats with a G. They're going to be a little nuttier flavored. So there you go, folks. 2 forms of oatmeal. Best way to get your breakfast started in the morning and break that fast.
All right, I'm going to bring in a guest that we have for a minute here. Here's Miss Kathy from the Youth Services Department.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Johnna. How are you?
I'm fine. You look great.
This was
Yeah,
good.
Kathy, I found out before the video that you and Johnna went to school together.
Yes,
so that's kind of fun.
Yes.
Yes, we've known each other for quite some time.
Yes, we have.
Excellent. Well, for this fall series, Kathy is going to be with Johnna for the cooking shows, and so I wanted to introduce her here. I also did put one more thing in the comments, the link to the Seasoned newsletter.
Yes, thank you for doing that, Liz. Seasoned is is actually a magazine that you can subscribe to, but they do put out a monthly newsletter that is just full of a lot of nice articles. It's got recipes in it. There are articles about different kitchen gadgets, which the featured kitchen gadget today was my little mini blender there. And it's got some exercise in it. It's got a lot of things in there for adults. And even, some of it's geared to older adults, but it's good for any age. There's going to be some really nice articles in there. So get the newsletter. You can copy it off. And if you're interested in subscribing to the magazine, I do believe the information's inside the newsletter somewhere.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Johnna. 2 great recipes today. And next week, we will be doing kid breakfast recipes. I seem to remember it has something to do with bananas.
It is a breakfast banana split. I trialed this with my granddaughters a few weeks ago, and it was a big hit. It is like a banana split, but it is a healthy version, and they lap it up. It's really quick and easy, and they have a lot of fun making it. So come back and check it out.
Yeah, and definitely anyone who's watching, keep an eye on our library event calendar. I'm going to put a link for that as well. Because some of the recipes throughout this series, there will be a kit where you can pick up the ingredients like you could for the oatmeal packets today. Next week is not one of them, but there are 4 of them during this series where you can pick up ingredients. To do that, you do have to register on our website in order to get the ingredient packet, so we know how many and where to send them. All right, so thank you, Johnna.
Thank you.
And thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Okay, look forward to working with you.
Always a pleasure.
See you guys later.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.